Hi there, this is your friend Anna, and the question that I've been getting the most from all of my friends is what are we wearing? This age old question isn't just about choosing an outfit, it's about choosing how we present ourselves to the world. I created the I Want Her Shoes podcast to dive deep into what it means to dress with intention, whether you're heading to a council meeting or just having a casual day out with your family. Join the conversation as we explore the power of personal style and the decisions that shape our public personas. Put on your favorite pair of shoes and step into my closet. Welcome back to the Want Her Shoes podcast, where style meets substance in every episode. And today we're thrilled to have Sherrell Dorsey with us, a dynamic force who melds fashion, tech, and sustainability into a powerful narrative that's shaping our future. From her early days in the bustling fashion industry to her current role as the host of TED Tech, Sherrell's journey is nothing short of inspirational. Sherrell's a visionary who understands the critical intersection of AI and sustainability and the evolving workplace. And today we'll dive into her fascinating transition from fashion to tech to explore how these worlds collide in her work and uncover the ways Miami's cultural tapestry is weaving into her latest projects. So pull up a chair and put on your most stylish shoes and step into my closet as we get ready to walk a mile in Sherrell Dorsey's fabulous footwear. So let's get started.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here. And first of all, it's like a whole sanctuary of fabulousness. So thank you for letting me come to the closet.
Well, it's amazing to have you here, and I would love to dive in and get to know a little bit about you. I know that your career actually began in the fashion industry, which was news to me because I got to know you a little bit recently. So how has this experience really influenced your approach to technology and also journalism?
Yeah, so I'll start with, I was born and raised in Seattle, which is not known as a fashion capital, and I did not even know that I would go into fashion. It was nowhere on my radar. And for me growing up, I studied computer programming as well as dance. And my mom was a big proponent of the arts. We had season tickets to the theater, the ballet, all of the things. And so the idea, or at least the language back then, was that art and science or art and math do not mix. You're either working on computers or you are somewhere in the world trying to be an artist, right? They were not worlds that collided. Well, what was so fascinating is that the first time I'd gone to New York, it was everything all at once. It was a tremendous contradiction of art and soul and in tech and all of the things at one time. And so, attending the Fashion Institute of Technology for undergrad was such an eye-opener. And it let me know that I can be a technologist and I can also, understand the world of fashion in terms of human behavior, right? Everything that we're attracted to, the way that design matters in our world, it tells the story of fashion, it tells the story of politics, it tells the story of materials and goods. And so I've always just been inspired by that nuance, and I think that's why it's played such a significant role in my life.
No, that's such a beautiful answer, and thank you for sharing. That's a beautiful story too. And also my parents were also the same. They thought that you're either good enough to be an artist or you're gonna be something else.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be an artist, but they said you're not good enough to be an artist, so you're not gonna go to art school. Yeah. But again, I kept on bringing art or creative things into my life, you know, and now I'm going back to the creative part. So I guess we always find out
I think
later.
we've returned back to it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You remember the shoes? You remember when I was with you at
Yeah.
Soho House? I had those shoes on.
Yeah.
They literally fell apart. When I was walking back, their soles fell off.
You gotta
Yes.
be kidding me.
So I had to take an Uber. I
Because
was walking in socks for a while.
Oh my god.
But then I'm I can't really walk for because I'm another mile away from there. So I got an Uber and I had literally I took this, and then I had another pair that was similar like that, and they also fell apart.
That's
So I literally
unfortunate.
took them to Dolce & Gabbana because I don't feel like that's cool.
No, not
'Cause
for
they're
Dolce
not
and Gabbana. Yeah.
So I bought 2 pairs of different, like,
No.
yeah.
And they just fell apart.
Yeah.
That's
And
bad manufacturing.
well, that's what I think it was really bad manufacturing because it looked like it was, like, the glue dried.
Oh.
Like, when it, like, unstuck.
Yeah.
And that's just
But
bad.
either way, they shouldn't do that.
No, they should. That means they had probably a bad partner for like tennis shoes or for shoes that year or something.
Yeah,
It's crazy,
exactly.
But then you better give us free shoes after
Absolutely.
that. Yeah,
Replace these. Yeah.
No, because that's like 2 shoes lost. They were super cute.
Yeah.
Big deal.
Yeah, those were cute. I remember.
Yeah, I know.
They were super cute.
All right, well, let's continue on our conversation. Now I have some shoe trauma, a little bit. Now when I put like other shoes, I'm like, I hope it doesn't fall off.
Right. Oh my gosh. Oh, it's unfortunate. A little PTSD.
Yeah. So after you later in your career, you founded The Plug. So and The Plug is a groundbreaking black tech news platform that achieved significant milestones, including syndication on Bloomberg Terminal. And what were the biggest challenges that you faced in establishing a niche, like in a media outlet, and what drove its success? I would love to hear that story.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I kind of accidentally started The Plug because I had been working for companies like Uber and Google Fiber, and prior to that, again, I was in the fashion world, so I was, Norma Kamali, fresh out of college, working for other brands like Ahava North America and some startup brands. And so I had always sort of worked for incredible entrepreneurs, particularly incredible women entrepreneurs. So it was always in the back of my mind to create something. I just didn't know what. And while I was working in tech, you're always trying to stay abreast of trends and conversations, and everyone was all about Silicon Valley. And so I just remember like reading and trying to digest news every single day, and I really didn't see a ton of representation. And I'm like, well, I have so many friends who work for incredible companies, folks who have patents or people who are building out amazing companies, but we're not really seeing that representation when we're talking about business news. And we know that like business news defines so much. So the folks who are quoted and who do get to talk about how to shape the future, those voices are prominent. So with The Plug, I was still working full time. I think I was either at Uber or Google at the time. And I would get up every morning, like 5 o'clock in the morning, put this little $10 newsletter together and just cover the conferences I went to, folks of color that I thought were building really incredible things or had really interesting things to say about the future of whatever, right? And within like a 6-month period, it really took off.
That's cool.
Yeah, and I started like getting calls from different, major companies who were like, hey, we want to sponsor this. We love what you're doing. And I got an opportunity to really get exposed to analytics, which I know is like a huge thing on your end, and data and like storytelling. And so I started to build in like, hey, we don't have an accurate assessment of, what kind of companies Black and brown founders and Black and brown fund managers are creating, or their investment patterns. How do we start to harness some of this data and really make it substantial and the insights available to ecosystem leaders of all sorts? And so, fast forward, built out, it's a data product, a subscription news and data service. And when Bloomberg reached out about us syndicating, it was like amazing.
Yay, that's cool. That's awesome.
Tremendous milestone. Absolutely. Yeah. So I did ask about the challenges, so I want to make sure that I touch on that. So I think, just some of the biggest challenges, particularly in media, is finding like what is the right revenue stream, right? Finding partners, finding clients, finding the right sponsors, knowing how to price effectively, especially when you are very niche based. And instead of taking the approach of like, oh, we're so small, we only cover this segment, because the information was so rich and so valuable, having to put a premium on that because no one was doing what we were doing. And being able to charge that premium and really start to build a true business and find other lines. I always tell people like Uber was my MBA because it gave me like the gall to like ask for what we deserved, and as like cutthroat as kind of the startup tech space can be, it also gives you a ton of moxie. Right?
Yeah, for sure.
Especially like you're going into these big conversations, big rooms, lots of very like seasoned folks, and you're like, hey, like I know that I have something that you guys need to help you make business decisions. So this insight and this analytics, what are you willing to pay for that? And then of course, like structuring licensing deals, and just not really knowing what I was doing along the way, right? As you build something from the ground up, but just having to have a lot of open conversations with other entrepreneurs, building community with others to kind of learn how to better price, build relationships. So many of our sales and opportunities came from like prior relationships, whether I was working in fashion or what have you. Like, I can't tell you how many times things cross-pollinated, you know, it could be like a decade later and it's like, oh yeah, I remember we worked on this together, you know? And so, yeah, a lot of the challenges were just, you know, it was figuring things out that you didn't know and still being able to step up to the plate and say, all right, I have no idea what I'm doing, but we're going to do it anyway.
Yeah. Well, that's what makes entrepreneur, I believe, right?
Absolutely.
Just doing it anyways.
Do it anyway.
Yes. Well, you succeeded and that was acquired, right?
Yeah, acquired in 2023 by Impact.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Well, let's talk a little bit about style now and talk about how do you integrate your sense of style into your current work and technology and sustainability?
Yeah, so I've been trying to be very thoughtful about you know, what style looks like, and style expanding beyond just apparel and shoes, right? Which we all love. Like, I'm a shoe girl. Not as big as a shoe girl as you are. I'll have to step my game up. But when I look at brand story, when I look at quality, when I look at sourcing, you know, we have been living in a world of fast fashion for, you know, over 2 decades now. And I think that a lot of us who are true fashion lovers, like, understand good quality. And I think we also appreciate designers that come to the table with something both unique, that also we know is going to be of high quality, right? We love pieces in our closet that just feel like they were made with care and made with love. And as much as like I don't believe everyone is a tree hugger, I always tell people like I'm a tree hugger, but like I'm also a girl who loves fashion. I love makeup. I love shoes.
You can be both.
You can be all the things, right? I was like, I'm not your typical tree hugger, but those things still are important to me. Ingredients are important to me. High quality materials are important to me. And so the way that this really shows up in my life is, you know, buying based on quality, buying based on values, like wanting to support like indie designers as well as some of those other great brands that we know and that we love that have a reputation for high quality, but also have a reputation for fair trade practices and things like that. So sustainability, you know, it doesn't mean that you have to like hug trees and like, you know, denounce the things that you love from a style perspective. It means thoughtfulness. It means like finding and sourcing companies like Marcella NYC, which cares a great deal about design and sustainability and ensuring they're not overproducing or things like that. And also, you know, style is your home. It's how you feel when you're in your home. It is, you know, the color and the texture of the teacup and all of the things that make us feel connected to ourselves and make us feel connected to each other. And so I try to incorporate that into my life, into my world, as often as possible. You know, I love like this generation, like the Gen Z generation, and I think maybe even older, have really talked about romanticizing your life. And I think that has everything to do with style, down to what is the bag that I take with me to the grocery store and throw my like groceries in, because I don't want to like take home more plastic bags and put more plastic into my life. So, you know, I think it's about just how you do things. It's the style, it's the energy of how do you make your life beautiful? How do you romanticize your life?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And, you know, this suit actually is my husband's suit. I had it redone for me because he couldn't fit into it anymore. But it's a Dolce & Gabbana suit. It's, you know, it's vintage now.
Yes.
So, but yeah, you could that's sustainability. Like you reusing things that you already have or
reuse it,
what
recycle.
You have in your house. Right?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. I love that.
That's very cool because nobody has it.
Nobody has it.
Which I love that, because for me, like I hate, like I've actually been in a room where somebody had the same dress and I'm like, okay, let's go. That's why I stopped using Rent the Runway and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Because it's like that, because like the same people get the same stuff. And for me, that's like a big style no-no.
Yeah. I hear you. Yeah, and that's what fast fashion has kind of done too, right? It's made us all replicas of each other, or everyone has the same like Montessori aesthetic. Yeah, because we're all watching the same videos and everyone's buying from the same places versus like, what are the unique things that you feel drawn to? Like everything is art, so it's so individualized. So,
Exactly. Yeah. And I know that you moved here from Atlanta recently to Miami.
Yeah.
And how has moving here influenced your professional focus and personal style? Again, because I'm sure it's very different here than Atlanta or
So
New York or
different.
Silicon Valley.
Yeah. I mean, and very similar. Like, right, we've lived in multiple different cities, multiple different climates, and you have to dress based on the climate. But I will say that coming back to Miami, as I was telling you earlier, I always can tell when I am like fully immersed in Miami because my wardrobe starts to lighten up again. I go from like lots of blacks and lots of dark chocolates into, okay, let's throw some reds, let's throw some pinks, let's throw some blues and some yellows. And I feel brighter. And that's really what I wanted in being here is, water is so calming. It's so peaceful. So being surrounded by water is amazing. And Atlanta's a great city, like, don't get me wrong. But there's something about like the sun being out majority of the time, being able to overlook the water, that just brings a sense of balance and calm, especially as someone who lived in New York City for most of my adult life, where hustle and bustle and, everything was urgent all the time. There's this kind of grace of being able to sit and just enjoy. And then also to appreciate just the natural like coastline and some of the natural amenities that we have being part of a coastal city. And so I think a great deal about some of the resiliency efforts that are happening here in Miami. So like Miami Climate Week, and all of the kind of different initiatives that are happening to ensure that Miami continues to be a city to enjoy, and all of the great innovations that are happening in the city, everything from like 3D printed entrepreneurs like that who have these really crazy ideas and they're working and they're partnering up with different municipalities to like, create protections, and even like the Miami-Dade Innovation Authority. I've served on it as a judge to a lot of their public challenges, innovation challenges, and they do some great work between public and private partnerships and startups and getting folks to solve major issues, be it around transportation or like seagrass, seagram, like all the buildup on the shores where they can turn that into like mulch and things like that. All of these really cool, quirky things that we don't have to think about on a daily basis, but help the world go around and operate. So I think Miami has some interesting assets, as well as some really interesting thinkers and people who inhabit this city.
True. Well, come to Miami, guys. It's awesome. No, that's a great answer. I agree. And has the city at all inspired you to start any new projects or shift your career focus at all? Because it sounds like there's so many exciting things that are touching sustainability that you're really passionate about.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a change. I was really on this journey around like what is my role in helping to move the climate conversation forward, to move sustainability forward. And so, I've really had the privilege of connecting with different folks in this community that are also connected to other cities who are doing just amazing work. And I think part of like my work as a host of like TED Tech and doing a ton of like climate communications on the back end is really ensuring that information is being shared, especially big ideas as like startup ecosystems are trying to figure out like how do we invest in and create new unicorns from companies that are focused on things like energy, climate, water, food, all of those things. And so once a journalist, always a journalist, but also the storytelling aspect is so significant because we can talk about like, carbon emissions reductions and things like that, and that can go over folks' heads, right? Versus, your electric bill will, decrease because here are some tools to harness energy from the sun by putting solar panels on your roof. It's a very different.
That changes the conversation.
It changes the conversation.
Okay, we'll have it now. Yeah,
exactly. Or even just opportunities for job creation, right?
Yeah.
Which is something that, is what, entrepreneurs do. Entrepreneurs create jobs. And so, that is really important, especially in a city like, Miami that has a ton of talent, and is looking to really like, skill up, future generations and existing generations that who have like done work, whether it's construction or what have you, like those are still skills that are needed in kind of the green economy.
Exactly. No, I feel like the AI is taking more like the actual like white collar jobs, right? And not what you were talking about, the actual workers that need to build all these things, and we need more of them now, right? So,
absolutely. There's still like the physical aspect of building things, and you're right, we're seeing the transition, right, of AI simplifying a lot of things, and so fewer people being needed for those kinds of jobs. And if you're able to adapt and adopt and kind of use those to your advantage, then that's helpful. But there's still a lot of infrastructure that has to be built out, and robots are not going to be able to do that. So
no, I mean, I wish they did, because one of the some of the projects here in Miami take for, like, since I've moved here 9 years ago, there's projects still going on, like the freeways are still being built, and I'm thinking like in 10 years there's going to be little drones flying around and like just doing it quick, like they're just gonna do that, but we're not there yet. We're probably 10 to 20 years away, guys, from that
Agreed.
kind of stuff.
Yeah,
but
I agree with that.
So, that will be cool, because that will change everything once that happens.
It will change everything, and I think too the next level of that is like the people who are going to be, supervising that particular kind of building, ensuring that there's checks and balances, and so
human in the loop. We'll need to have them. So,
I love that, exactly, human in the loop, absolutely.
Yeah. And let's talk a little bit about, how do you see the role of tech in advancing sustainable fashion practices? Because I feel like it's a lot of the conversation, and it's been the conversation for like decades and decades, but are people really doing anything about it, or is it just fluff?
So I think that yes, and yes, right? I think that there's, there definitely was not as much advancement as there should have been, because when I was still in undergrad, I was taking like sustainable textile classes and learning more about like how the global industry is supposed to be shifting to more sustainable fashion. And that was like circa 2010. And so you were thinking, oh, okay, the fashion industry is really going to like clean up its act. And we just got more fast fashion, right? And a lot of like greenwashing. And so I'll say that I feel like there are some brands who are really trying to solve this problem, especially because if you can reduce redundancies and inefficiencies in the supply chain, then you by default can eliminate waste, right?
Exactly,
cost savings, right? And you had more companies or more universities start to emerge with like sustainable business management programs, so that these executives can come in and figure out, okay, how do we save money by using less water? How do you save money by, wasting less material?
How do we just make less stuff? Like, because I feel like a lot of the higher end brands, they just burn everything, right? Like if they don't sell it, they literally burn it, or they put it into the ozone layer and into a big dump. So how do we figure out how much exactly of the inventory we need, right?
Exactly. And that's where tech comes into play, right? Like that's where like AI can come into play. Like how do you build based on what you know the demand's going to be, so that you are still protecting your brand and you're not over making. Maybe you're making these like exclusive lines, you're able to charge a premium, and there's still a level of craftsmanship. And so I think that there are, some brands, large and small. One of my favorite designers, Mara Hoffman,
me too.
She like recently, decided to shut down her company, but for years, she had all these amazing sustainable principles. And her pieces were just designed with the ethics around sustainability. And there's a lot of designers that are following that same trend and building in smaller batches, using dead stock to make garments. Lily Silk, my pants are from Lily Silk, and they have a tremendous sustainability mission on buy it once, take care of it,
let's keep it forever, right?
Let's keep it forever, right? But there's definitely has to be an investment in the technology, whether it's from manufacturing to understanding what the cell cycle actually looks like, to if we do have these returns or textiles are coming back to us, how do we now transition into something new? And so we're seeing a lot more investment, particularly in the VC space, into companies that are taking old textiles and turning them into something new. So we're starting to see that, as the technology has advanced, become just a little bit more, ubiquitous, and hopefully, some of the larger brands start buying from those particular, companies to build out their new product lines.
Yeah, no, I feel like that's a great idea, and you can be so creative with that, right?
Absolutely.
So it just brings out new styles and new trends.
Yeah.
And how has your personal style evolved with your career? And how do you believe personal branding plays a role in professional success, especially for women in tech, which I feel like is a big
Oh my
deal?
gosh. Yeah. I feel like I've always gone through like an existential crisis when it comes to fashion because I have gone from so many different extremes of work environments, and you have to deal with so much, especially I think when you are a woman and how you dress, because you want to be taken seriously. You also want to fit in, Tech is always talking about culture fit. So on one hand, there is this tremendous trend around like a hoodie and jeans, right? Yeah, and it's like, okay, cool, like maybe a little bit, but then also like I also want to dress up, and I also want to like look good and feel powerful. And so I will say like my style through the years has always been contingent upon the environment that I've been in.
Exactly.
And then when you transition into the CEO role, of course, like you get into more like powerful suiting, right? So it's the blazers, it's more of a tailored look. Today, like I try to dress for a sense of simplicity and chicness, right? Like I don't actually want to think about what I put on. So in the past, like I've hired amazing stylists. So Germany, Gerald, Gigi and Style Co. has, I think from the beginning when I first started my company, assisted me with pulling looks together, especially for speaking engagements. That's or cool. On panels, right? You're promoting a company, you have to look good. You're going to be on television, you're going to be in editorials. So I needed that extra help and that extra touch because sometimes like we don't actually know what looks good on us until you have someone who has a great eye and is like, okay, try these colors or try this, right? And there's nothing wrong with getting a little bit of help. Not everyone can be like a Diana Ross and just, be very effortless. And so, I love to read a lot of fashion books, right? And just know-hows.
I like books too.
Exactly, because you get that exposure, and also like I started to really, especially during the pandemic, right? I mean, I think a lot of us kind of like went from the extreme of like, okay, we're in our pajama pants to, okay, let me like tailor this up a little bit. So, everything from like buying foundational pieces to going through your closet and knowing like what actually fits you well for your body type. And as a woman, like we fluctuate throughout the month, right? And like having to fall in love with our bodies as they are and accentuate the things that we really love and, and tuck away the things that maybe we don't so much.
Yep.
And part of that too is also making a list, and I'm probably a little bit neurotic because I have an actual like on my iPhone, like I have a full list of like designers that I like, brands that I love, influencers that I like to follow because I love their style. I love how they put things together. So also like I kind of have a roadmap, right? And like I don't know if you're a big Pinterest girly.
Yes, I am. Of course, that was like the official, like I mean, that's where everything is saved.
Exactly, right? And so I'll have like, okay, conference looks, date night looks, what have you, and it gives me a bit of a guide. But my biggest focus is on, how do I buy quality pieces so I'm not having to rebuy again because that's annoying. I'm still working on expanding my color palette. Which brands, either higher end or just high quality, do I really want to make investments in and support? And in some cases, like a little less is more. Like let me have a couple of statement pieces, but foundational, I should be able to get up and say, oh, here's a top, here's a pant, throw on some accessories and let's go.
Yeah. Make it simple.
Make it simple.
I'm sure having those help from the stylist probably helped you kind of have a better eye as well yourself too, right?
Yeah, because she stretches you, and whomever you decide to use, like they can stretch you a little bit. And they're also good at just sourcing and finding because they have great relationships with brands and designers, right? So they, pull ideas and things that like I would have never, and quite frankly, actually
You're like, where did you get this?
Right.
Like, where did you find it?
I don't like shopping. I know what I like. But it was also helpful to have some support around, okay, here's the look. We'll get everything ordered and send it to you and just try everything on. Whatever doesn't fit, we'll take it back for you. And that was the most incredible service I've ever paid for in my existence. I kid you not.
Yeah, no, that sounds like a time saver.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
For real. For busy women, yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. And I think too, it's like if you and you don't always have to hire a stylist, right? All of these other like major companies now have style shoppers.
They do. They do. L'Oreal has really good people.
Okay, see, I didn't even know that. Yeah, I know like Saks, Nordstrom, like whatever your kind of price point is, there are people who will come, they'll pull looks for you and they'll kind of assist you. So there's also ways to do it, you know, on a budget. And I think that, like, for all of us, especially, we go through different transitions in our lives, especially just as women, whether maybe you're becoming a mom, maybe you're in a new relationship, whatever it is, like, sometimes you just need that, your next level. Right?
You do, no, and you need somebody to, like, give you a fresh look and stuff.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, that was awesome. And now I'm going to ask you some quick fire round.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
Questions and see what your answers will be. And high fashion or high tech?
High tech.
Startup culture or corporate structure?
Startup culture for sure.
Yes. East Coast or West Coast fashion?
East Coast.
Yes, girl, all the way. Digital detox or always connected?
Always connected. I like want to take my phone off of airplane mode now.
We're almost done. Runway show or tech conference?
Runway show.
Me too.
Yeah.
Early bird workouts or evening wind downs?
Early bird or I won't do it.
Me too. I like literally will make any excuse. Like I'll drink a glass of wine. I'm like,
oh, I can't do it
now. Podcasts or audiobooks?
Oh, podcasts.
Me too. Power suit or casual chic?
Casual chic.
Yep. Handwritten notes or digital memos?
Handwritten notes, honey.
All
my
the
handwriting sucks, but I still do it.
Yeah, I need to do it too, because otherwise, like, I won't remember it as well. Like, the task.
Okay,
like,
wait, do you have personalized stationery? Because I feel like that's going to be the next level of the woman I'm trying to become. It's like,
I don't, but now that I have the podcast, I'm going to get, like, podcast stationery.
It's going to be so cute.
Yeah. And then we'll hand that out to the guests.
So
you guys can use that and remember about the podcast.
I love that.
Yeah. Coffee meetings or virtual hangouts?
Coffee me, please.
Yes, I think we're all over virtual hangouts.
I think so.
Like, oh my
Zoom's out. I'm done. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Sherrell, for walking us through your incredible journey from the fashion halls to the tech innovation labs, and for sharing how these worlds blend beautifully into your work. And it's clear that whether you're navigating city streets or digital pathways, you do it with style and insight.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. And the last thing I want you to do is I want you to share the beautiful shoes that you brought with you and tell us the story.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Okay. So, I had to think a lot about this. So these are my favorite shoes. Well, one of my favorite pairs of shoes. So I call them my combat boots. They remind me so much of New York, my time in New York. I probably bought them.
They look like New York. They look like you know, I see Carrie wearing like her skirt with those, you know what I mean, with her belt and everything. Like
exactly. And I actually love to wear them when I go to New York because, you know, you're always walking. They've got a thick, nice sole heel, but they also like mean business. They have this like badass feel to them. They're like the least feminine boot and shoe that I actually own, but they're fun. And I feel like when I need that sense of like strength or confidence or courage, it just puts that like New York vibe, you know, into my world. And so the other thing is I've probably owned these for like 10 years. And so I've gotten like the soles redone.
But they look like they're new. I mean, like they look.
Oh yeah. Oh, I get
like,
them.
It's trendy now to look like you're worn out.
Yeah.
You know, people pay money to have like things that look like they're 10 years old.
So they're worn, but I try to get them like polished. And,
no, they look amazing.
Yeah, and so I've kind of like I said, I've tried to keep things that I love and not just like throw things away. And they're well made. They're like, you know, like, they're like Michael Kors, you know, when Michael Kors was making like actual like nicely made shoes. And so, yeah, they
Does he still make shoes now?
Lots of sandals.
Okay, like, maybe sandals, yeah, because I guess maybe before I feel like he was more heavy into shoes and stuff.
Yeah.
And bags.
He makes everything at this point.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so they're just my favorite, and I don't think I'll ever be able to get rid of them. But like, if you look inside, like there's some, you could tell these are old, but yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that story.
Thank you.
Now I'm going to ask you to pick a pair from this closet to see which one is like the most you.
First of all, the collection is absolutely insane. Okay, so there are a couple that I was eyeing that I
Thank you.
How do you just pick one?
It's hard. I mean, that's why I have them color coded, so then I know at least
that's super smart.
What I'm going for.
Okay, can we talk about the red with the metallic? Those are some badass shoes.
Yes, let me bring those. Those are like the super woman shoes. These ones.
Yes. Oh yeah, I love this. This definitely reminds me of Superwoman.
I feel like that's literally why I got those, and I haven't worn them because, like, I just haven't, like, I'm scared to wear them because I feel like they're gonna get, like, scuffed.
Oh,
because
yeah.
they're like,
they've got satin.
They're satin, but they would go so beautifully with your outfit that you're wearing now.
I know, you see. Listen, wait, I'm like, okay, we're almost the same size. Okay, but look, I love these because they are different, but also they're feminine, but they're badass. Kind of like a little,
like you.
Yeah, you see?
Yeah.
Exactly. It's like I'm here for the show. I am the moment, but also like, don't mess with me.
Exactly.
I love them. So also just every shoe in here. So when you leave and shut everything down, I'm just gonna be in here like trying everything on, just playing dresses.
Hey, that's what it's for. It's about, like, when I come here, I have a bad day, I come in here and I spend like even 5 minutes and I feel better.
I love that.
You know what I mean? Like,
I love this being a happy place for you.
Yeah,
this is
the
fun.
happiest place. That's why I decided to do the podcast, to bring people into a happy place. Because every time I bring people here, like,
it's fun.
Like, it's fun. Emotions come out. People
Yeah.
get, like, the stories come out. You think about, like, different outfits and, like, the time that you had fun with your girlfriends dressing up, or, like Sex in the City. Like,
right.
That's what I think about when, and that's, I guess I grew up watching that. That definitely influenced me.
Yeah.
To start the collection. And since, I didn't think fashion was for me, I did it on the side, but now I'm back in it.
I love it. All the dimensions. I'm here for it.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Sherrell. Again, it was amazing to have you. And to our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. And remember, style isn't just about what you wear. It's about how you carry your passions and dreams into the work you do every day. And I think, Sherrell, you kind of said that yourself, too. And we hope that today's episode inspires you to blend your personal and professional worlds with the same flair and precision as Sherrell. Don't forget to follow and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform to catch every episode, and join us next time for more insightful discussions at the intersection of fashion technology and leadership. And until then, ladies, have a wonderful rest of the day, week, and weekend. Bye.